My fiancée posted a picture on her ex's lap, captioned, "Sometimes you miss the old days." I didn't argue. I just listed the $15,000 engagement ring online. Engagement canceled. Serious offers only. She found out when her mother called me screaming, as buyers started messaging. The notification sound pierced through my sleep at 2:17 a.m., dragging me from dreams about our upcoming wedding into a nightmare I never saw coming. I grabbed my phone expecting work emails or maybe a family emergency, but instead found myself staring at an Instagram story that made my blood run cold. There was Chloe, my fiancée of 8 months, sitting on Logan's lap at some rooftop bar in downtown Phoenix, her head thrown back in laughter while his hands rested intimately around her waist. The caption read, "Sometimes you miss the old days," followed by a nostalgic emoji that felt like a knife twisting in my chest. The image showed them at what appeared to be a private party, string lights twinkling overhead, other people blurred in the background, but the focus was unmistakably on their intimate positioning. I sat up in bed, my engineering mind trying to process what I was seeing while my heart hammered against my ribs. This wasn't some innocent group photo or accidental positioning. This was deliberate, intimate, and posted for our entire social circle to see while I slept peacefully in the bed we shared. I screenshotted the story before it could disappear, my hands shaking as I stared at the timestamp confirming this had been posted just minutes ago. The worst part wasn't just seeing her with Logan, but realizing she felt comfortable enough to broadcast it to the world, including me. I lay there for 3 hours, staring at the ceiling and replaying every conversation we'd had about Logan over the past few months, suddenly seeing patterns I'd been too trusting to recognize. When Chloe finally came home at 4:30 a.m., she slipped into bed quietly, probably assuming I was asleep, her hair smelling like cigarettes and cologne that definitely wasn't mine. I waited until morning to confront her, sitting at our kitchen table with coffee and the screenshot pulled up on my tablet. "Want to explain this?" I asked, sliding the device across the granite surface we'd picked out together 6 months ago. Her face went through a rapid sequence of emotions: surprise, panic, defiance, then practiced innocence. "It's not what it looks like, Brett," she said, pouring herself coffee with hands that trembled slightly. "We ran into each other at Maya's birthday party and it was just old friends catching up." But I'd seen the way Logan's hands were positioned, possessive and familiar, and the way she leaned into him like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Old friends don't sit on each other's laps at 2 a.m. while their fiancé sleeps at home," I replied, keeping my voice steady despite the rage building in my chest. "And old friends definitely don't post about missing the old days." Her defensive walls went up immediately, that familiar tactic she used whenever caught in something uncomfortable. "You're being controlling and paranoid," she snapped, her green eyes flashing with an anger that seemed disproportionate to my reasonable questions. "I can't have male friends now? I can't attend social events without checking with you first." The gaslighting was so smooth, so practiced, that for a moment I almost questioned my own reaction. But the evidence was right there on the screen, and my gut was screaming that this was exactly what it looked like. "This isn't about male friends, Chloe. This is about respect and boundaries, which apparently mean nothing to you." She stormed out 20 minutes later, claiming she needed to meet her sister Lauren for lunch to process my jealousy issues, leaving me alone in our apartment with a growing certainty that our relationship was already over. Sitting in the silence of our empty apartment, I realized this Instagram story wasn't an isolated incident. It was the culmination of 4 months of increasingly suspicious behavior I'd been too trusting to fully acknowledge. The Logan encounters had started in March when Chloe mentioned casually bumping into him at the Central Phoenix Farmers Market, a place she'd never shown interest in during our 2 years together but suddenly began visiting every Saturday morning. "You should have seen his face when he recognized me," she'd laughed, describing their conversation with more detail and enthusiasm than seemed necessary for a chance encounter with an ex-boyfriend. Then came the yoga studio membership in April, at a trendy spot in Scottsdale that cost twice as much as her previous gym, justified by claims that she needed more mindful exercise and spiritual growth. I supported the decision, even encouraged it, thinking she was prioritizing her mental health after a stressful quarter at work. What I didn't realize was that Logan had been attending the same studio for years, Information I only discovered months later when she let it slip during an argument about our credit card bill. The wine bar networking events started in May, every Thursday evening downtown at upscale establishments where she claimed to be building professional connections in marketing and advertising. She'd return home around 10 p.m. with stories about industry contacts and potential collaborations, her cheeks flushed from wine and what I assumed was excitement about career opportunities. But when I suggested joining her sometime to meet these helpful networking contacts, she'd deflect with excuses about the events being women-only or too crowded for plus ones. I noticed she started dressing differently for these outings, wearing the black cocktail dress I'd bought her for our anniversary, the expensive perfume she usually saved for special occasions with me, and taking extra time with her makeup and hair. When I complimented how beautiful she looked, she'd brush off the attention with comments about needing to look professional and make good impressions, as if spending 2 hours getting ready for a casual networking event was standard practice. The most telling change was her social media behavior, which shifted dramatically around the same time Logan reappeared in her life. She went from liking and commenting on my posts regularly to barely acknowledging my existence online, while I noticed her name consistently appearing in the likes on Logan's Instagram photos, his gym selfies, vacation pictures from Sedona, even mundane shots of his morning coffee. Meanwhile, my own posts about our date nights and weekend activities would get minimal engagement from her, as if she was deliberately avoiding public displays of affection with me while actively engaging with him. "You're being paranoid," she'd say whenever I gently questioned the frequency of these coincidental encounters or the late nights that were becoming routine. "Logan and I are just friends now. We have history, but that doesn't mean anything romantic." She'd turn the conversation back on me, suggesting my work schedule was making me suspicious and insecure, that I was letting stress from my engineering projects affect our relationship. The final red flag came 2 weeks before the Instagram incident, when I discovered she'd been consistently viewing Logan's Instagram stories within minutes of him posting them, while sometimes taking hours or even days to respond to my texts during her networking events. After Chloe left for her lunch with Lauren, dismissing my legitimate concerns as jealousy issues that I needed to work through in therapy, I sat alone in our living room staring at the framed photos of our happier times scattered across the mantel. The apartment felt different now, contaminated by the knowledge that she'd been living a double life while I planned our future together. I walked to our bedroom and opened the safe we'd installed behind our dresser, retrieving the custom-designed engagement ring that had cost me $15,000 and 8 months of overtime shifts at the engineering firm. The 2-carat emerald-cut diamond with sapphire accents caught the afternoon light streaming through our windows, a reminder of the Saturday I'd spent at 3 different jewelry stores with Chloe's best friend helping me choose the perfect setting. I'd worked 60-hour weeks and eaten ramen for dinner more nights than I cared to remember, saving every penny to buy something worthy of the woman I thought I was going to marry. Now, holding the ring felt like grasping evidence of my own naivety, a beautiful symbol of a relationship that had been dying while I remained obliviously devoted. Instead of calling Chloe to demand answers or begging her to choose me over Logan, I made a decision that felt both impulsive and perfectly calculated. If she wanted to publicly humiliate me by posting intimate photos with her ex-boyfriend, then she'd learn that actions have consequences in the most public way possible. I spent an hour setting up the perfect shot, arranging the ring against black velvet backdrop on our dining room table, using natural lighting from our west-facing windows to capture every facet of the diamond and the intricate sapphire detail work. The ring looked stunning in the photos, like something from a high-end jewelry catalog, which was exactly the impression I wanted to create for potential buyers. I crafted the listing carefully, writing engagement canceled. Serious offers only. Ring comes with certificate of authenticity but too much emotional baggage, before posting it simultaneously across Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, and Instagram with detailed specifications and asking price of $13,000. Within 15 minutes of hitting publish, my phone started buzzing with notifications that I had to silence to keep up with the volume of inquiries. Serious messages poured in from young couples, jewelry dealers, and even a few women whose boyfriends had apparently been dragging their feet on proposals and saw this as a sign to act quickly. I found myself creating a spreadsheet to track the legitimate offers, which ranged from $11,000 cash to $14,500 from an estate jewelry dealer in Scottsdale who specialized in high-end pieces. The response was so overwhelming that I had to create standard replies and schedule viewing appointments for the weekend, treating the sale with the same methodical approach I brought to engineering projects. There was something therapeutic about the process, transforming my heartbreak into a business transaction while watching the ring that symbolized our failed relationship generate genuine excitement for other couples who actually deserved happiness together. 3 hours after posting the listings, while I was responding to my 15th serious inquiry and scheduling weekend viewings, my phone rang with a call from Sandra, Chloe's mother. "Brett, what the hell is going on?" she demanded, her voice shaking with a mixture of panic and confusion. "My neighbor just sent me a screenshot of a Facebook post selling Chloe's engagement ring. Please tell me this is some kind of mistake." I could hear the desperation in Sandra's voice, a woman who had genuinely welcomed me into her family and spent months helping plan what she thought would be her daughter's wedding. "It's not a mistake, Sandra. Chloe made her choice last night when she decided to post pictures of herself sitting on Logan's lap for the whole world to see." The silence on the other end stretched for nearly 30 seconds before Sandra's voice returned, smaller and more defeated. "She's still at lunch with Lauren. I'm calling her right now." What Sandra didn't know was that Chloe's phone had been buzzing constantly for the past hour as mutual friends began sharing my listing across their social media networks, recognizing the distinctive ring from our engagement photos that had been posted 8 months earlier. When Chloe finally saw the notifications flooding her phone during what should have been a relaxing lunch with her sister, I imagine the blood drained from her face as she realized the magnitude of what was happening. She burst through our apartment door at 3:47 p.m., her face flushed red with rage and humiliation, finding me calmly seated at our dining room table with my laptop open, methodically responding to buyer inquiries with the professionalism I'd learned from years in customer service roles during college. "What the fuck do you think you're doing?" she screamed, her composure completely shattered as she saw me typing responses to potential buyers. "You can't sell my ring." I looked up from my laptop with the calm demeanor that apparently infuriated her more than yelling would have. "It's not your ring, Chloe. I bought it. I have the receipt, the certificate, and the credit card statements to prove it. Legally, it's mine to sell." She started crying then, but these weren't the manipulative tears she'd used during previous arguments. These were desperate, panicked tears of someone watching their security blanket disappear. "Brett, please, we can work this out. Last night was a mistake. I was drinking and Logan was being pushy and I just made a stupid decision." But I'd already received 3 offers above my asking price, including one from Robert's Fine Jewelry in Old Town Scottsdale for $14,200, and a young couple from Tempe offering $13,800 cash for a same-day pickup. "The mistake was thinking you respected me enough not to humiliate me publicly," I replied, showing her the spreadsheet with 17 serious inquiries logged in just 4 hours. "I've got viewing appointments scheduled all weekend. Several buyers are driving from Tucson and Flagstaff specifically for this ring." The reality hit her when she realized I'd also changed our relationship status on Facebook from engaged to single and archived all our couple photos, making our breakup visible to our combined network of over 2,000 friends, family members, and professional contacts. "You're destroying my reputation," she sobbed, clutching her phone as notifications continued pouring in from friends asking what happened. "People are already calling me asking questions. My boss saw the post because her daughter shared it." I closed my laptop and looked at her directly. "Your reputation was destroyed the moment you chose to sit on another man's lap and post about missing your past with him. I'm just making sure everyone knows I'm not the fool who's going to tolerate it." By Saturday morning, what started as my personal response to Chloe's betrayal had exploded into a viral social media phenomenon that neither of us could have anticipated. The story gained momentum when Jessica Walsh, a lifestyle blogger with 50,000 followers who specialized in Phoenix dating culture, screenshot my ring listing and posted it to her Instagram with the caption, "This is how you handle cheating with class. No drama, just consequences." Her post received over 15,000 likes and 3,000 shares within 12 hours, triggering a cascade of reactions across multiple platforms that turned our private relationship drama into public entertainment. Local Facebook groups like Phoenix Single Scene and Scottsdale Moms picked up the story, with users debating everything from appropriate relationship boundaries to whether I was being too harsh or not harsh enough in my response. The comment sections became battlegrounds between people supporting my dignified approach and others criticizing me for airing private business online, though the majority seemed to view the ring sale as justified karma for Khloe's public disrespect. TikTok creators discovered the story and began making reaction videos that garnered hundreds of thousands of views, with hashtags like #EngagementRingRevenge and #KnowYourWorth trending locally. Young women filmed themselves dramatically removing imaginary rings while audio of my listing description played in the background, turning my heartbreak into meme material that somehow felt validating rather than exploitative. The viral nature reached its peak when Channel 12 News contacted me Thursday afternoon for an interview about modern dating drama and social media accountability. I agreed to appear on their weekend lifestyle segment, partly because I wanted to control the narrative and partly because I figured Khloe needed to understand that actions in the digital age have consequences that extend far beyond immediate social circles. During the 5-minute segment titled, "When Private Relationships Go Public," I explained my reasoning calmly and rationally, emphasizing that respect and boundaries matter more than avoiding uncomfortable conversations. Meanwhile, Khloe attempted damage control by posting a lengthy Instagram story claiming the situation had been completely misunderstood and that I was financially abusing her by selling a ring that symbolized our shared commitment. Her story backfired spectacularly when followers who had seen the original photo with Logan flooded her comments with criticism, calling out her attempt to rewrite history and play victim after being caught in obviously inappropriate behavior. The comments ranged from supportive messages like, "Girl, just take the L and learn from this," to harsher criticism questioning her character and decision-making abilities. The viral attention reached our professional networks within days, creating awkward situations neither of us had anticipated. My engineering colleagues began asking questions during lunch breaks, most expressing support for my handling of the situation while a few suggested I should have kept private matters offline. Khloe faced more serious consequences at her marketing firm, where clients and colleagues who followed her social media began questioning her judgment and professionalism after witnessing the public drama unfold. Her boss reportedly called her into a meeting to discuss maintaining appropriate professional boundaries on social media, effectively putting her job security at risk. The story even reached Logan's current girlfriend through mutual connections, leading to a public confrontation on Facebook where she revealed he had been telling her he was single and pursuing multiple women while claiming Khloe was just a friend he occasionally ran into around town. Sandra, horrified by the public attention and her daughter's behavior becoming Phoenix social media gossip, staged a family intervention the following Sunday with Khloe's father Mark and younger brother Tyler, demanding complete honesty about her relationship with Logan. The family meeting took place at Sandra's house in Ahwatukee, where Khloe was forced to face 3 people who had watched her grow up and couldn't understand how she'd become someone capable of such public humiliation and deception. Under intense pressure from her family and facing the threat of being cut off from the financial support she'd been receiving for her upcoming graduate school applications, Khloe finally broke down and admitted the truth that everyone suspected but she'd been denying for months. She confessed to having what amounted to an emotional affair with Logan for 6 months, including intimate text conversations that deleted automatically, secret dinner dates she'd disguised as group hangouts or networking events, and late-night phone calls when she claimed to be working overtime at the office. The family learned that Logan had been systematically pursuing her since their first coincidental encounter at the farmer's market, using their shared history and his knowledge of her insecurities to slowly convince her that I was holding her back from the exciting life she deserved. She revealed that the rooftop bar photo was taken during what was essentially a date, where Logan had spent 3 hours trying to convince her to break up with me and move to California with him that weekend, promising they could start fresh in San Francisco where he claimed to have received a lucrative job offer at a tech startup. "He made me feel like I was settling for ordinary when I could have extraordinary," Khloe sobbed to her family, finally admitting that Logan had been pressuring her to choose between her boring, predictable life with me and an adventurous future with him. The manipulation had been subtle but effective, with Logan constantly comparing our relationship to what they could have together, suggesting that my practical approach to life and career was evidence that I lacked ambition and passion. Sandra called me that evening to apologize and share what she'd learned during the intervention, expressing genuine remorse for her daughter's behavior and revealing that she'd never fully trusted Logan during his previous relationship with Chloe in college. "He was controlling and possessive back then," Sandra explained, her voice heavy with regret. "I should have warned her when she mentioned running into him, but I thought she'd grown up enough to recognize his patterns." She told me that Logan had a history of pursuing women who were in committed relationships, viewing their boyfriends as competition to be eliminated rather than obstacles to be respected. Meanwhile, Logan's carefully constructed image was crumbling as his current girlfriend discovered the full scope of his deception through social media connections and mutual friends. Sarah Kim, a nurse practitioner who had been dating Logan for 4 months, publicly confronted him on Facebook after learning about his pursuit of Chloe and discovering evidence of similar manipulation tactics with at least 2 other women he'd been seeing simultaneously. Her post detailed how Logan had been telling each woman a different story about his relationship status and future plans, using the same promises about California opportunities and adventurous lifestyle changes that he'd apparently used on multiple targets. The public exposure revealed Logan as a serial manipulator who specialized in targeting women in stable relationships, convincing them their current partners were inadequate while positioning himself as the exciting alternative they deserved. I successfully sold the engagement ring to David and Emma Chen, a young couple from Scottsdale, for $13,500 cash after they drove down on a Saturday morning and spent an hour examining the certificate of authenticity and asking thoughtful questions about the setting and diamond quality. They were planning their own engagement and had been saving for months, expressing genuine gratitude for the opportunity to purchase a ring they never could have afforded at retail prices. Using the money from the sale, I booked a 3-week solo trip to New Zealand and enrolled in a project management certification program I'd been considering for over a year, finally investing in myself instead of someone who didn't appreciate the effort. 6 months later, my life had transformed in ways I never expected when I was planning a wedding with Chloe and worrying about her late-night networking events. The New Zealand trip gave me perspective and confidence, while the certification led to a promotion at work and a 30% salary increase that made me realize how much mental energy I'd been wasting on relationship anxiety instead of career growth. I started casually dating again, but with a completely different approach based on what I'd learned about recognizing manipulation and setting firm boundaries from the beginning. Meanwhile, Chloe's relationship with Logan imploded within 3 weeks of my ring sale going viral, exactly as Sandra had predicted based on his historical patterns with women who actually left their stable relationships for him. According to mutual friends, Logan became distant and critical once Chloe was available, suddenly finding flaws in her personality and appearance that he'd previously claimed to find irresistible. The California job offer turned out to be fictional, and Logan began making excuses about needing time to figure out his own life before committing to anyone seriously. Chloe found herself alone, unemployed after being quietly let go from her marketing position due to the professional embarrassment, and living back with her parents while trying to rebuild her reputation and finances. She eventually entered therapy to address what her counselor identified as a pattern of seeking validation through male attention and sabotaging stable relationships when they became too real or required actual emotional investment. 8 months after our breakup, I received a handwritten letter from Chloe taking full responsibility for her actions and acknowledging that my public response, while painful for her, had forced her to confront behaviors she'd been denying for years. "I realize now that you were showing me real love through consistency and commitment, while I was chasing the fantasy of excitement that Logan represented," she wrote. "Your response taught me that respect and trust aren't optional in relationships, and I'm grateful you didn't let me get away with treating you badly just because confrontation was uncomfortable." The letter felt like closure I didn't know I needed, confirmation that growth was possible even from painful situations. The viral story became a cautionary tale shared in relationship advice forums and social media groups, with strangers occasionally messaging me to share their own experiences with partners who prioritized excitement over stability. Some thanked me for demonstrating that self-respect and boundaries matter more than avoiding conflict, while others shared stories of their own recoveries from relationships where they'd been taken for granted. Logan eventually moved to California alone after deleting his social media presence and cutting ties with most of his Phoenix connections, unable to handle the continued backlash from women who recognized his manipulation tactics. Chloe completed her master's degree in marketing at Arizona State University and moved to Denver for a fresh start, focusing on rebuilding relationships with her family and developing genuine friendships with people who valued honesty over drama.